Bill Henshaw here again, Constitutional Cook Headquarters, as we enter into the new year. And a very interesting new year it can be, given the unprecedented window of opportunity that we have here. And for that reason, with my ongoing research, it's become very exciting. It's an intense, passionate research, and I'm developing, the concept that if we're in states admitted into this union and they are common law states, Article 4, Section 3, we have to have common law courts. If we don't, every law on the books, state, federal, you name it, ain't out of here. There's at least a bill of attainder, the taking of life, liberty, or property without judicial process. And that means the trial by jury according to the course of the common law, which is available even to inhabitants of territories, for crying out loud, the Northwest Ordinance, as you'll find by, getting by modestly priced document packets. Send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. And this goes back to the Northwest Ordinance of 1787. Yet this trial is nowhere in sight in what fraudulently purport to be states admitted into this union. This issue undoes the whole thing. If they don't have it, no judicial courts. And not only that, they're not acting in any official capacity. So what do they have? Personal liability. And get rid of all the bullshit qualified, if not absolute, judicial immunity that you get with these civil rights crap lawsuits, 42 USC 1983, that have never existed, which is one reason they're so easy to throw out of court on the first motion to dismiss, which happens, as I understand it, in 95% plus percent of the cases. The only time they succeed is when they have to make it look good. And that's it. And it's rare that that even happens. And look at the difference. We just had some recent convictions, quote unquote, of people who shot and killed law enforcement officers. And what do they get tried for? First degree murder. If the law enforcement thug shoots you, if he gets to trial at all, and he's lucky with qualified immunity BS, they say, well, he didn't know that the rights existed. The hell with that. The governor has the sworn duty to see the laws are faithfully executed, which means he has the duty to tell all these law enforcement thugs and every other department of government to cease and desist. They see you on the street, nothing happened. Unless they can somehow convince a jury that you look a lot like Chase Bank, IBM, or Microsoft, corporate entities. That's all this system regulates. When you come to that realization, everything else starts to fall into place. That's how it is. And the good news, with the unopposed record that I help you set in the trial court, and they're not going to answer any of it, despite the fact they have the sworn duty to establish the government's burden of proof on jurisdiction and venue. In 5 decades, I've never had that happen. Now, even if we don't, quote unquote, win in the trial court, quote unquote, often as not, you'll get a sweetheart plea deal because they can't want this going to trial, especially when they see the almost 600 jury instructions you're going to be presenting to get your theory of the case to the jury, which we have and have had the right to do since at least the Magna Carta 800 years ago. If we don't have that, and think about this, the trial by jury with the power to rule on the facts and the law. Simple. If we get there, we instruct them as to what the law is, and we also have this backup record in your case of the unopposed record that they didn't attempt to prove jurisdiction, because to do it on the record would convict them of treason. Not only that, you get my modestly priced constitutional defense document packets. Send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. Among other things, you get a lot of relevant, admissible documentary evidence over the course of 5 decades that we put in. And even if we had to file what looks like a BS civil rights case, We're either going to beat their usually reliable motion to dismiss, summary ex parte, don't even need a hearing, see you later. You have no rights to de facto national socialist government is bound to respect. So if that happens, we now have a great shot at getting to the 9 parts to find out what the problem is. And what we're going to tell them, and I'll be doing a Dear John letter that I may make available complimentary to people that request information on my materials. Not done yet, should be by the first week of the next year. A Dear John letter. Dear John, not Dear Chief Justice, not Dear John Roberts, Dear John. When the hell are you people going to start doing your sworn duty to say what the law is? Marbury versus Madison, which you haven't done in 160 years. And this is the sort of window I think we have right now, unprecedented, with the government going far overboard in a lot of different areas that I've talked about on other videos. And it especially includes mortgage banksters, by the way, student loans, to name a couple, family court. I mean, the issues virtually affect every court across the spectrum here. And the big deal is, especially with the mortgage banksters and student loans or credit cards or what have you, they all deal in undefined dollars. We don't know what the hell they are. If defined at all, it's by the president acting as commander in chief of the armed forces. You ever see the yellow fringe on the flag? You walk into one of their quote unquote courts. Now you know why it's there. So, in effect, anybody that's fully into that system and made a voluntary, knowing, and intelligent waiver of rights, in exchange for which they, in effect, get the right to create money out of thin air. This is Mariner S. Eccles saying this, not me, the former unlimited chief of the Federal Reserve, or chairman of the Federal Reserve in the 1940s, on the record, House Subcommittee on Banking and Finance. The Fed has the right to create money out of debt. Without debt, there would be no money. What the hell is this? And that issue we use, and you ask them to define dollar at every step of the way, you're going to get documents in my document packets that describe this issue exactly. It's a winner chicken dinner. Send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. I'll get you the information out on there. They can't define it. And yet the Constitution, what does it say? Article 1, Section 4, Congress shall have the power to coin money and regulate the value thereof. Article 1, Section 10, no state shall make anything but gold or silver coin a tender in payment of debt. When you start raising these issues, get away from that BS civil rights crap that has never existed, by the way. That's something else you'll learn by getting my materials. Send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. Much better results. That almost certainly at least gets you a sweetheart plea deal, and we can deal with any consequences of what might happen there. Trust me, not a problem. And we can go from there with that unopposed record and everything I bring to the table, including my expert witness testimony in front of a jury. You get that if we ever get to a contested hearing or we get to a jury, and they can't let that happen, but they can't prevent you from doing it. If we have a right to get into a judicial court with the jury being ruling the law and the facts, and we can't tell the jury about the law, what it really is, that's how strong this is. And we get a lot of us out here to start to do this. It's going to sweep the country, and that's going to make changes to restore our Republican, federated Republican form of government of defined and limited powers, and take away the democracy that we have now. As I've often said, 3 wolves, 2 sheep voting on what's for dinner. That's it. And get back to where we should be. And then we can make changes in the system consistent with the Constitution, not in contravention of it. That's how strong all of this is. Yeah, it's going to take some time and effort on your part. Not the 10,000 hours it took me in those musty old stacked law books in the law libraries. I started out before basically the onset of the internet era and this, that, and the other. Happily for me, that's one of the best ways I learned, and it's a lot more than names, dates, and places. It shocked the hell out of me. In Columbia, South Carolina, it took 30 seconds to shut them up. I'm standing there manacled, hand and foot in a red jail suit, 30 seconds. They did not know what to do. They'd never heard anything like this. In South Carolina, for crying out loud, is the cradle of states' rights. Inc. Now, I knew from day one when I got arrested out here in a regular library, that's hard to do. But I did. I was laughing at him even then. I laughed at him all the way across the country. It took 2 months to get from A to B, 4 federal unmarked military aircraft. And I was laughing at him at my initial appearance in their court. Nothing they could do. I had them dead bang. They couldn't filter me with one of their attorneys. The game was over. That's what you will learn to do. And you don't have to be near as good at it as I am. Hopefully you'll get that good. I want you to. I'm going to help you do that. You get a lot of backup when you get my materials because I have your back here. Send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com, and we can go from there. But it's exciting. And it's not just us. It's not our individual cases because these issues arise in every other case. That's the power of and the magnitude of the issues we have in our attempt to make things better for ourselves, our children, and our posterity. And we have every right to do it. I mean, look at the Constitution, ordained and established by we, the people, to establish, our right to redress a grievance and our other rights. I'm getting a little lost here for a minute, but the main one is that we ordained and established the Constitution to ensure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. All we have to do is start invoking that right, and the game's over. It's not going to happen overnight, but it'll happen, especially if we take friendly approaches to the local actors and official positions of government, because they have a lot to gain. That's where most of the power really is, in the county seat, not Sacramento here or Washington, D.C., local government. And that's how it should be, much less expensive, much more efficient, much easier to control. That's the triple crown right there. And that's what the government is supposed to be. And I want to help you and a lot of other people out there too. Anybody who wants to get involved, send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. And we can go out there and start making changes and get business done and put these bastards out of business in Washington, D.C. and 120 Broadway, New York, New York banksters. That's how important all this is. I know I've gotten a little off track here, but that said, it's very exciting that we do really seem to have remedies, and they're supposed to be there, either in the state courts or the federal courts. You'll learn all about that. Send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com, and we can go from there. Meanwhile, subscribe, like the videos, tell your friends, get the word out. As soon as we start stopping all this divide and conquer crap they've been doing for 160 odd years, if not longer, courtesy of the New York banksters, the quicker we get these people off our backs. Thank you.